Hello, this is Coach Kristen Williamson with Marathon Training Academy. I'm here answering a question from Stefanie about injuries. Stefanie's question reads, I would love to ask about injury setbacks during marathon training. If you have to miss several weeks of running, is it possible that other activities such as biking will be an acceptable substitute? Great question, Stefanie, and I'm sure there are probably a few people out there who might be dealing with injuries right now. With an injury, one of the first things would be to consult a healthcare provider or physician just to check in and make sure that you're cleared for any cross-training activity. Any advice that they may give as far as adding in cross-training activity, definitely follow that advice and heed that once you're starting to look at maybe adding alternate activities or training exercises into your routine. With not being able to run, one of the great ways to keep up fitness is to add in some of those cross-training activities. I know I've used that word a few times. When I talk about cross-training, I'm talking about things like pool running or aqua jogging, biking, walking, even using the elliptical. If weather permits, sometimes cross-country skiing can be a great thing to add in as well there. With these activities, what you're doing is you're basically keeping up that aerobic base. So when you're training for a marathon, doing all of your runs, one of the foundational things that you're doing is really building a good aerobic base. And what you're doing with adding in some of these activities is keeping that base up. The great thing about adding some of this in, some of these other activities in, is it can also make you a stronger runner. So when you get back to running, these are different exercises that work different muscle groups. So for instance, biking, when you're biking, you're using your quads, your glutes, which are definitely key muscle groups that you're using while you're running as well. You're using them in a little bit of a different way, maybe working some other muscle groups that you wouldn't otherwise work if you were running or working them in a different way. So they're great activities to add in to help keep up that base. When you're adding them in, make sure you do it gradually and slowly. So for instance, if you're doing some long runs and you're out there for a couple hours, maybe running, you're not necessarily going to jump to maybe swimming for a couple hours at a time. Gradually add those in. The other thing you can do is to add in some intervals. So for instance, if you're aqua jogging, it can be really tough to stay in a pool and just jog for 30 minutes straight. So to help break that up, add in some intervals. Maybe you're sprinting, really kind of running really hard for 30 seconds and a minute off, and then kind of rotating that back and forth to help chop up that time. You can even do that on the bike too, to add in some other times, and also with swimming too. So if you're doing some swimming activities, again, great way to add those in. The last thing I would say about injuries is also make sure that you're resting, getting in plenty of rest to help that injury heal and recover, as well as getting in some quality nutrition to help give your body that ideal state to recover. Best of luck. Hopefully this has been helpful, and hopefully you can get back to running soon if you're dealing with an injury.